I don't think Leyndell Knights are scattered around the lands between because they deserted the capital. I think they are scattered because they are still following the final orders of an empire that has already died. A Leyndell Knight outside Leyndell is not a simple enemy placed far from home. He is evidence that the capital once projected military and religious power across the lands between, and that when Shattering destroyed the chain of command, many of its soldiers were left stranded at their posts. They are not wandering, they are waiting for orders that will never come. The first time you encounter most regional soldiers in the land between, their position makes immediate sense. Godric's forces occupy Limgrave, Royal Lucaria soldiers patrol Liurnia, Redmane troops defend Salid and Castle Redmane. Their armor tells you who they serve, and their location tells you what they are protecting. Leyndell Knights break that pattern. Some remain near the capital, exactly where we would expect them, but others appear much farther away, in Liurnia, around old military roads, and inside catacombs whose occupants don't initially seem connected to Leyndell at all. The simplest explanation would be that they traveled after the Shattering. Perhaps they became mercenaries, deserters, pilgrims or treasure hunters, but that doesn't fit their behavior in Elden Ring. These knights do not appear to have adopted new loyalties. They have not discarded their equipment, they don't wear the colors of local rulers. They still fight like soldiers of the capital, and they still carry their religious and military identity of Leyndell with them. That is why I think their scattered locations should be read historically. The knights are not showing us where Leyndell's authority exists now, they are showing us where Leyndell's authority used to reach. Before the Shattering, the royal capital was not merely one kingdom among several. It was a center of the Golden Ring Order's political and religious system. Its armies fought war across the lands between. Its soldiers would have guarded roads, escorted religious objects, occupied conquered territory, protected sacred institutions, and maintained the roads connecting distant regions to the capital. The map we explore is the map of the system after it collapsed, and the Leyndell Knights are the pieces that never returned home. There is an important distinction here. Not every knight wearing gold should be treated as part of the perfectly uniform group. One discussion that inspired me for this theory points out the visual and thematic differences between the knights associated with Leyndell, the forces around across Altus Plateau, and the more specialized warriors connected to the ancient dragon cult. That matters because it prevents the theory from becoming too neat. Leyndell's military was probably not a single unit in which every soldier held the same beliefs, learned the same incantations, and served the same function. Some were ordinary military knights, some may have belonged to elite religious circles, others may have been stationed outside the capital as a part of older campaigns or regional garrisons. The ancient dragon cult is especially significant. After Godwyn befriended Fortisax, dragon worship was incorporated into the culture of Leyndell. But belonging to Leyndell's army didn't necessarily make every soldier a dragon cult devotee. This may explain why certain groups contain both knights who used lightning-based abilities and knights who do not. Windham Catacombs, for example, includes Leyndell-aligned knights with different apparent relationships to dragon worship. Rather than proving that every Leyndell knight belonged to the cult, their placement may reveal different ranks, traditions, or military roles operating together. That variation actually strengthens the largest point. An empire doesn't scatter identical soldiers across its territory. It sends different people for different purposes. A knight found beyond Leyndell may have been protecting a road. Another may have belonged to a religious mission. Another may have survived a battle fought generations earlier. Their individual assignments may differ, but the reason they are all stranded is the same. The system that once connected these alignments to Leyndell is gone. The most revealing example is the lone Leyndell Knight in Liurnia. He stands far from the capital, close to the current study hall and the road toward Liurnia's Divine Tower. More importantly, defeating him rewards the Dragon Cult prayer book. That item immediately transforms the encounter into a question. Why is a knight of Leyndell carrying Dragon Cult knowledge through Liurnia? I think the strongest explanation is that he was transporting it. He may have been delivering the prayer book, preserving it, or bringing it to someone capable of studying and teaching its incantations. Maybe he have been traveling toward Miriel at the Church of Woes. That possibility is compelling because Miriel represents reconciliation between traditions that were once hostile. The Church of Woes commemorates the union of the houses of the Earth Tree and the Moon. Miriel accepts both sorceries and incantations and teaches without treating them as fundamentally incompatible. A Dragon Cult prayer book arriving there would make thematic sense. The knight may have been carrying knowledge from Leyndell's religious tradition to one of the few figures in Liurnia able or willing to understand it. However, this remains a theory. The knight's position near the study hall and divine tower makes his purpose mysterious, but it doesn't prove the Miriel was his destination. He could have been traveling toward the study hall, returning from somewhere else, protecting the prayer book rather than delivering it. But the exact destination is less important than what the encounter tells us. This knight was probably not randomly wandering through Liurnia. He had something valuable. He was positioned along a meaningful road, and whatever his mission was, it ended before he completed it. That gives me a model for understanding the other scattered knights. Each one may represent a task interrupted by the collapse of the Elden Ring world. The old wars left Leyndell soldiers far from home. Religious missions can explain individual knights, but not every distant military presence. For the larger pattern, we have to remember how many wars Leyndell fought before the Shattering. The capital's forces campaigned against the Fire Giants. Leyndell fought 2 wars with Liurnia. The city endured the assault of the ancient dragons. Later, during the Shattering, the forces of the demigods fought over territory, great runes, and control of the air tree. That is an enormous military history. Armies moving through those conflicts would have needed supply roads, defensive positions, forts, escorts, occupation forces, and permanent garrisons. They would also have suffered losses. Some survivors may simply never have made it back. The history of the Liurnian wars in Elden Ring is especially relevant, because it establishes a direct military connection between Leyndell and the region where the Prayer Book Knight is found. There is a theory that these wars occurred relatively early, and the road between Raya Lucaria, Leyndell's fortified manor, and the Grand Lift of Dectus is evidence of the relationship between Carian and Leyndell forces. Even without establishing an exact timeline, the larger point is clear. Leyndell once sent soldiers into Liurnia. Those soldiers would have traveled the same road that remained in the game. They may have guarded the lift, protected convoys, occupied strategic sites, or remained behind after treaties changed the relationship between the two powers. And then the Shattering severed the old roads. Bridges broke, armies fragmented, commanders died or turned against one another. The air tree sealed itself and the royal capital became increasingly isolated under Morgoth. Imagine being a Leyndell knight stationed in another region when that happened. You might receive rumors of rebellion, war, a siege, but not reliable command to withdraw. You might continue protecting the same road because it was the last order you were given. You might guard a tomb because no priest arrived to relieve you. And so on. There are many options. From the player's perspective, these Leyndell Knights look misplaced. From the knight's perspective, the world around them is what moved. At first, the scattered knights appear to represent the strength of Leyndell. They show how far the capital power was extended. A Leyndell soldier in Liurnia means the capital could send its agents beyond Altus. A knight in distant catacomb means Leyndell's military and religious institutions reached into places that now seem forgotten. But that is only the first layer. The farther these knights are from the capital, the less their presence feels like evidence of power, and the more it feels like evidence of failure. Because an empire capable of deploying soldiers across the lands between should also be capable of recalling them back. Leyndell cannot. The scattered knights reveal that the capital's authority didn't vanish in one clean moment. It broke unevenly. The institutions at the center failed first, while individuals at the edges continued behaving as if those institutions still existed. And the Leyndell Knights keep serving the royal capital long after the kingdom that sent them out has ceased to function as a united empire. Their discipline preserves them, but it also traps them. A knight who remains loyal has only the mission. This is the detail that makes the theory tragic rather than merely historical. We enter Leyndell and see the truth. The streets are buried beneath ash, doors are sealed with corpse wax, soldiers guard empty districts. Morgoth rules a capital whose divine order no longer answer him. Later, the air tree burns and Leyndell becomes the ashen capital. But a knight stationed deep in Liurnia would not necessarily know about all of that. There are no functioning messengers, no central military command. Even if rumors reached him, loyalty might prevent him from abandoning his assignment without an official order. So he waits. From his perspective, Leyndell may still stand, the king may still rule, the air tree may still be eternal, relief may be arriving tomorrow. That is why I don't think the scattered Leyndell Knights are simply the survivors of an old army. They are time capsules. Each one preserves the final moment when Leyndell still had the authority to give him a purpose. The lone knight in Liurnia may still be protecting a prayer book meant for a recipient who will never receive it. The soldiers along the roads may still be defending roads that no army uses, and they don't remain at their post because Leyndell is strong. They remain because Leyndell is too broken to tell them to stop. Thanks for watching, hit that like button and subscribe for more Elden Ring and other Souls-like games lore and guide videos, and stay sharp out there, Tarnished.